My third lathe. It's a jet, and it has a 16-inch turning diameter. So an 8-inch radius for the spindle length between the end of the spindle and the table. So that means anything you want to turn has to be smaller than 16 inches. Or you can slide this head all the way to the end and turn at the end and kind of unlimited size, whatever you're brave enough to stand in front of. It doesn't have a very wide wheelbase, so it might be a bit tippy. And it's on a rubber mat, an anti-vibration mat to suppress unneeded vibration. On the wall here, I have a magnet strip that I support most of my tools with. Some of them I just keep on the lathe because these are the two that I use the most. A small square scraper, and I guess you'd call this a scraper as well, but it's kind of shaped like a gouge. This one does most of my cutting, and this one is the sizer. For instance, when I'm turning, I'll keep this in the same hand as I'm turning, and I'll make the cut, and then I'll use this every once in a while to see if I'm nearing the target for the leg. And then I use this to see how long the tenon has to be. So then I can mark how long the tenon has to be. So this is how big around it is. This is how long it has to be. And then the rest of the taper just goes down to what is your favorite shape. And then how to make the end, you kind of, with this tool, you can only get so small in the end, and that's just kind of where the end lies on this tool. I try not to make it too small because you don't want a little tiny end. Well, the flies are good today. Mind you, I've had no formal training. This is all just learned from years of using this tool. I just stepped up to the tool and started using it. The minute I got it, I really didn't know what I was doing. And there was no videos. Years ago, you just kind of seat of the pants. You don't want wood that has grain going around the edge. You want nice straight grain wood. You don't want a knot anywhere in the piece. You don't want cracks on one side anywhere. You don't want really cracks anywhere in the piece. If it's sapwood, it's going to be really soft, and it's going to look different from the heartwood. So if you're trying to match all your legs, it's better to do all sapwood or all heartwood to get them to look right, unless you want contrast. Heartwood is a little harder than sapwood. You can turn green wood on this, but it's a little harder to get your sanding completed because it just clogs the sandpaper up immediately. All right. You don't need any real fancy tools to figure out the center of these things. Just estimate with your fingers and just draw a line and just keep that same distance and just keep making that line all the way around. And you end up with a square, and that's where you put your thing. Or if you're real skilled, you can just do it like that. Okay, what I'm thinking about right now is trying to get this tool rest within a ½ inch of the work. That's all. That's really what my aim for. And it's about parallel with the spindle. So it's not too high, not too low. The tool's going to be higher than the spindle. And so what you're going to do in the first round is you're just going to try to knock off this edge. And you're only going to be able to work as far as this. If you go further than that, this is going to give you a nasty slap. It's going to make your hand slap really hard, and it's going to hurt a lot. So don't go past the end. You start here. Always put your tool rest, put your tool on the tool rest before you get near the piece. That's the most important thing. You can work as fast as you want as long as the tool rest is engaged with the tool. If you're up here, this thing when it spins around, it's going to slam the tool, and that's going to hurt a lot. And it'll probably throw the tool out of your hand. I'm going to get some facial protection before I turn that on. I can work clear out here, but that puts a lot of vibration on the end of the tool. So you want to get as close as you can and still have room to work. So that's somewhere around a ½ inch. one of the things you always want to do is you always want to rotate this before you turn on the machine. And so that makes sure that everything is out of the way and that you're not going to just bog the motor when you turn it on. And so I have the piece locked in. It's pushed as far as it can go that way, so it's engaged. The grain is running in the appropriate direction. This may or may not work. You just never know. You don't just cut 4 blanks when you're turning legs. Cut 6 or 8 and use the best 4 out of the bunch.
If you like the videos, please subscribe. It helps me do more videos and bring more content to more users. Thank you.
So the first pass, you're just knocking that edge off. That's all you're trying to do is knock that edge off. Okay, that was 8 passes. That's about what it takes to break through all the flat sides. You see, you've still got some flat spots right here. That's 8 passes cutting both directions. That's as aggressive as I can cut without making this wood flake out even more. See, it flaked out a little bit there, but that's still not the final diameter, so we're still good. From here on, I'll make passes that are not as aggressive. And first thing I'll do is I'll come down here and I'll work this other end so that it gets worked down at the same rate as this. If you work this down completely and put all that time into this piece and then this piece breaks, because this is real susceptible to breaking because there's not much wood holding it on anymore. If this breaks after you put all that time in there, you've wasted all that time doing that end. So it doesn't make sense to put too much of your valuable time into one end before you get the other end down to something manageable. So I'm not just going to turn this down to equal this. I'm going to turn it down to this, and then I'm going to go to the next step, since I'm already in this position, which is to make the final end size. And that will tell me how much of this to move it to a good shape. And then once I get this thing sized, then I'll move down to that end, and I'll use these calipers in order to, one, measure distance, how long the leg has to be for the top that I'm doing, and then two, on what size diameter the hole is that I'm going to be putting that into. And that's what this is right here. That's the same size leg. Yeah, when I'm going aggressive, I'm just putting a lot more pressure into the wood. And that risks doing a lot bigger chip outs. You see how big the chip outs are here and here. And any place that this leg is going to be tested for failure, this is it. You're giving it the failure test right now. So you're kind of mechanically testing the strength of the leg by putting a lot of pressure on it. If it doesn't succeed, then it wasn't meant to be. You've got to start with another leg. I usually don't advise wearing gloves on a lathe. This is my personal choice. I run the risk of getting sucked in and an injury, but my skin is so thin because I'm old that every little thing that comes off of here makes me bleed. And so I'm just weighing the pros and cons. I have enough experience. I don't think I'll get wrapped up in there. I don't advise you to use gloves until you're an expert, and then maybe even the experts tell you not to. Certain times I don't use gloves, like when I'm doing the final sand out. These things will really wind you up in there. It's a terrible injury. You don't want to get caught in that. So right now I'm going to work this end down, put my mask on, and you'll see how fast it goes. It's a real fast process. That's why I didn't mind turning 18 legs the other day. here's a little trick I use. This distance right here, and this distance right here, I align this so that those distances are the same. What that tells me is all the material here that I need to get off in order to make this to this a straight line. Because if you look at the legs that I make from this point to the end, it's a straight line. It may not look like it, but it is. It's a straight line. So from about there to there, I need to remove all of that stuff. So that's what I'm going to work on after I come in here and do the end.
A straight line right here, here, here. Supposed to be a straight line. See, it broke out right there.
So this is a practice leg, and you can see why you turn more than you need. This happened late in the game, and if that is a buried leg and it's buried inside the piece somewhere, that's all good. Or you can cut it off and still bury it. But if you're going to make a split leg, that's no-no. You got to turn again. That's where you put a split here, and you put it in, and then you drive a discolored wedge, like a white wedge in there, and it broadens it a little bit in order to make it fill the circle better. Aggressive tendencies, probably if I was going a little, wasn't trying to do it on camera real fast, I would probably go a little easier on it, and that's probably why it happened. What speed do you run a lathe at? When I'm doing a spindle, like this one, I run at full blast. You know, fast as it'll go. Faster the better, as far as I'm concerned. When I'm turning a bowl, different story. This is relatively well balanced, even in its cube form. So that is your limiting factor, is how fast you can turn, is how well balanced is the item you're turning. And at least that's all I know. So if it's not very well balanced, you got to go really slow. And this thing will go slow. Look how slow that'll go. I mean, it will go slow. And I've had to turn stuff slow. Because you might have to, on a big piece, you might have to put a mini planer up here. And chalk stuff in order to see where, put this up here and put a piece of chalk up there and let the chalk tell you where you're going to have to grind. And then keep grinding until you can get a tool on it. Once you can get a tool on it and start making some headway, well, then you can turn the speed up a little bit.
If you like the videos, please subscribe. It helps me do more videos and bring more content to more users. Thank you.